Hello, everyone. My name is Ned Dennison. I'm a leader of some of the Sandycove Island distance swimming, and I'm also probably the person who's doing most of the posting on the Facebook page. Much of the content is about people doing laps, long distance, racing, marathons. However, there's lots and lots of other people who love and enjoy Sandycove Island, and I wanted to start a profile, some of them and their stories. So, Angela, could you please introduce yourself? Say hello.
Hi, everybody. My name is Angela O'Sullivan. I'm a dipper.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Angela, your background, how close you live to Sandycove, and how often you're there.
Well, I'm a retired guard. I did 24 years in Garda Síochána, and I would consider myself semi-retired, so I work part-time now. For myself, I am well, I suppose I'm 10 minutes away. I'm in Dundero. It's a quick 10 minutes to Sandycove.
And are you at Sandycove every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Are you a morning person? Do you organize to meet other people in a group? Or are you a kind of a lone ranger?
Oh, I'm in a group. It's called the Sandycove Dippers, and there's about 14 or 15 of us, and we meet loads of people. Anyone, like we have, we meet tourists there that are there for a couple of months, and they join us for a couple of months and then go off. Like Zoe recently, she's gone back to Paris, but she was with us for 6 months. And currently we've got two lovely Germans that are with us for the next 6 months. And yeah, we swim every day, 9:30, rain, hail, snow, thunderstorms. Yeah, we're consistent. I rarely miss a day unless something major comes up or I'm away, which is not very often.
And does that include weekends as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes we shift it to 10 o'clock on a Sunday just to get a little sleep in.
I can confess that sometimes that the distance swimmers have a similar shifting. And
Yeah.
your Sandy Cove Island dippers, are they connected with a WhatsApp group, or how do you do the
Yeah,
communication?
we have a WhatsApp group and we're kind of routinely 9:30 every morning, unless it changes because somebody's doing something, we post that. And we have a 10-minute rule so that if you're allowed to be 10 minutes late. So if you're over the 10 minutes, then we all have permission to go in without you. Yeah, and it works really, really well. And great fun. We chat a lot, but we swim a lot as well. We do the island. We don't push ourselves. Well, there's one or two. Ruth loves to push herself. She's gone around twice in one go. And she kind of drags the rest of us around with her sometimes for company. But we're kind of like fair weather. We're not fair weather swimmers because we swim every day, rain, hail, or snow. But we are island swimmers when the conditions suit us. So it's only when it's calm and when the tide is right, and we don't do dangerous stuff unless it's stormy and we're in the high energy near in the pond.
This is probably a good place to stop for advice to people putting together groups. There's kind of two groups mentality. One is toes in the water for
Mm-hmm.
like 9:30, and the other one is give you 10 minutes and then we're getting to go. And what you don't want to do is set together a group and have some people who are just going crazy about toes in the water and other people who take a more laid back approach. So it's good that you have that understanding. Tell us a little bit about your history in the water. When did you learn to swim? Where did you learn to swim? Were you a pool swimmer as a kid?
Well, I went to, because I'm local, we went to Guardstown history. My mother sat in the car, read a book. I don't know how we didn't all drown. There was 9 of us, and we literally went in and we were self-taught with no, parental supervision. God, in those days there wasn't. And I went from there then so I was kind of self-taught. I did the breaststroke fairly well, but I wouldn't put my head in the water. So I did overarm without putting my head in the water. Then I ended up in Templemore Training College, and I would have been one of the better swimmers, believe it or not. We're all trained in the pool there, then, minimal life-saving force with a high pole off the high dive. Some of them just freaked out and never jumped off it. But anyway, we were trained to do that. And then I suppose with the kids, I went on and had 3 kids, and I just didn't do much swimming because you're just in a wetsuit because you're frozen cold by the time you get them in and get them out. And you're only toodling and poodling after them with surfboards and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't really do much serious swimming because you're keep an eye on them. Like my kids grew up with Brian Foster. We remember him in his nappies on the side of the pool in the Carlton. Myself and Steve were there morning, noon, and night with our kids. So I know Brian well from young age. And I suppose then when the kids were sort of able to swim on their own, didn't need supervision, I went back just doing a little bit. And about 4 years ago, I was up on holidays in Wexford, and my friend said, "Come on, let's go swimming." And I had my 4 mil winter wetsuit, and I said, "Oh, no, no." And then there was actually ice and snow in the car. I went in, screamed my head off for 10 seconds. And then when we got out, we were dressing on the beach, and it was a beautiful, sunny, winter, crisp day. And I thought, I'm there in my togs, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to go in again. And I went in, and that was it. I never again put on the wetsuit. And I arrived in Sandycove on my own, met Hetty and Jen, who invited me with a sausage roll to join the group. And so I did. Um, and I wasn't a good swimmer. I would consider myself a fairly confident swimmer now. I wasn't good. I started off doing counting, 15 strokes, and then thought, oh, I've enough, I'm exhausted, and went back again. And it took me, I suppose, a month to get halfway across to that island. And I thought I would never get across. And then I got across. And then I thought, oh, I need to get some lessons because, I wasn't really putting my head in the water properly. So I got some lessons with Bjorn, and that was amazing and really, really good. And then I was quite happy doing the inner triangle. And then one day you said to me, "Oh, I think there's a bit more in you, Angela. I think you can do more than that." Just the way you'd throw those casual comments at people. I thought, oh, if Ned thinks I could do more than that, maybe I could. So then actually there was a group of us, 5 or 6 maybe, and we actually accidentally went around the island one day, believe it or not, because we were aiming the whole time. We'd go from, the slip, we went out to the left side, we'd go to corner one, we'd come back, and then another day we'd go down to the first yellow buoy, and then we'd sneak up to the second yellow buoy, and then we'd go to the third yellow buoy, we'd come back, never knowing that if you got to the third yellow, you're halfway there anyway. So there we were sitting, bopping on corner 2 one day, thinking, oh God, will we ever get around the island? And who comes along? Only Ruth and Rochelle, the other side, they had done 1, 2. And we said, guys, how long did it take you to get to here? And they said, oh, about 30 minutes. They were breaststroking. And we said, well, sure, it took us 30 minutes to get to corner 2 the wrong way. Would you come back with us and show us, so we're safe? And they said, yeah. So we accidentally went round. So, like when I say accidentally, it wasn't planned. So the 2 nurses came with us, and we were thrilled. There was 6 of us that first day, went round with no planning, which is probably the best way, because I think the island is psychological. I think the first one is hugely psychological, and then after that, yeah. So we had great fun doing that. We kind of do it, on average, maybe once or twice a week. And then I injured myself. I went around one night at 2 a.m. in the morning, the full moon swim with 2 kayaks. Delighted with myself. I was safe and all that, but I really pushed myself too fast, because when you're just swimming in the dark with kayaks, you think, oh, I need to keep up so they're not doodling and poodling. And I probably did it too fast. And I was okay, and I was high as a kite. And then the next day I went in again. And then on the next day, when I went around the island again, I felt the pull in my shoulder, and I thought, yeah, you should have rested. So look, you live and learn. I ended up with a grade 4 rotary cuff tear and a frozen shoulder. So then because I love that water and I wouldn't give up, I actually went around the island on my back. Rather than not go around them. I couldn't lift my arm, and there I am in the water going on my back. Yeah, and I have not missed one day in my 2 years of rehab, and I opted not to go for surgery and to just allow the water to heal me. So I spent maybe 6 months on my back, not doing any front crawl. And then I just thought one of the days, okay, I'm strong enough now. And I just did 1 stroke. I couldn't do any more. And then I just built it up. The next day I did 2, the next day I did 3, and I built that up. And then I get to 5 or 6. And then I'd say, okay, I can't do any more than that. And the next day is 5 or 6. And I just built it up, counting until I got to about 90. And I thought, okay, here goes. So I have, but it took me the guts of 2 years. I'm back swimming around the island again. But I'm really careful this time. I do it once a week. If the weather is good, I don't push it. If I get that nerve, that like when you overstretch the nerve and you get that ding and ting in my shoulder, I say, okay, that's enough. So I have learned my limitations. And I'm okay with that. So yeah,
a couple of things on that. What we tell people is that if you're trying to build up to go to the island, around the island, then start in a swimming pool or start at Clonakilty, start at the dock where it's gentler. When you get a little more comfortable, go out to the island, not quite to the island because there's rocks out there, but go out to the island on maybe even a low tide where the water's quite shallow and people are comfortable. Do that a couple of times. And then we talk about an inside triangle. So you kind of go to the island, turn left, go 20 strokes and come back to the slipway. And then go to the island the next time and go 50 strokes. And then, as you talked about, if you go in a clockwise direction, if you go all the way out to that third buoy, that's halfway, but you also have land on both sides. So it's psychologically more comforting. And come back. And that's kind of a lap, but you haven't done a lap. And then I tell people, go out counterclockwise that first corner, take your goggles off, look at the old head, look around the back of the island, swim all the way around the island to the other corner, we call corner 2, take your goggles off, look back around. Now and come back. That's actually longer than a lap. We then have a number of kayakers and a number of swimmers who volunteer to take people around their first time as kind of an escort swim. And we now have in printing, we have all these caps, which you've probably seen people proudly wearing. And there's a starting cap is 100 laps lifetime. We've now come up with a new cap called the One Turian, which for the people who've done their first lap and probably aren't going to hit 100 anytime soon. And those caps will be available in the next couple of weeks. It's not an intention to charge for them. We'll just be giving them out to people who are proud to have done a lap. The second thing that I'm sure you talk about good conditions. High water is the safest time to go around, an hour or two either side. When there's a standing wave at that first corner, it's usually rougher. And when the wind is howling, it's usually rougher again. Night is exciting with the phosphorescence, but it's not the time you want to be doing your first lap with every bit of other stress that's going on. And then, by all means, do a first lap in August or September, not in February, when it's the coldest possible time. So, Angela, tell us about your typical Sandycove visit. Do you boil the kettle and prepare your tea? Do you put a sandwich in a bag? Do you tell the dog he's going to Sandycove or she's going to Sandycove? How does that work for you?
Well, I don't bring tea. I used to be. I would sometimes bring a flask in the winter, but I'm more a fruit person, so I kind of put in my banana, my orange, and my apple, and my dog. I would not go without my 5 liter of tap hot water so that I can rinse afterwards and get that lovely heat from the hot shower on the side of the. Never go without my dry robe and my Uggs so to keep my feet warm. I always walk afterwards with the dog, to warm me up, because especially in winter, like I'm on that cliff walking, I'm still shivering 10 minutes in, but by the time I come back down, the blood is circulated again and I'm warm, and that's how I recover afterwards. But yeah, I love the old cup of tea, and if we've any celebration, I love that as well. People bring a cake or and that's nice. We celebrate everybody's birthday or any, big occasion, any excuse really for a gathering. Which is great fun. But if the sun is shining, we will linger and hang around and talk and chat. And no bother to us as well to just talk and chat in the water if we want to,
And do you go over to the table and chat, or you kind of hang out by your cars at the far end?
If we're just having a chat, we would just literally hang out by our cars. Like I have a setup now where I have 2 cushions and I just put them into the boot and sit in the boot where I sit, looking out into the water. If we were having a celebration, we would go over to the picnic table, definitely, and sit there as a group. But when we're just daily, we just literally chat by the cars as everyone's getting dressed and undressed and stuff.
And how important is this in your daily routine?
It's as important to me, or probably more important to me, than my mother going to mass every day. It's the start of the day. Like if I missed it, I'd be off or out. And I would tend to, if I miss it, try and make it up some other time of the day, because it just, I don't know, there's something invigorating, or just, it's a life-giving force in its own that I just don't like using the word addictive, but yeah, it just makes my day if I go in. And the cold never stops me. Yeah, and like if I wake up in the morning and I'm feeling tired or I'm just not with it and I think, oh, I don't want to go to swim today, I project forward in my head to how good I feel afterwards, and then there's no excuse. It just, It doesn't come into the equation. I just get up and get at it and go.
And what are the conditions that you go to Sandycove and you don't get in the water? Is the size of the waves? Is it the rain? What stops you getting in?
I have never not got in because I would be very spiritual and I connect and I would always ask, am I safe? And only ever twice it said, you're not safe. And I'd say, okay, can I just dip then? And it would say, as in the universe would say, yeah. So twice I have only stayed in the bay, um, for a short period, but I would listen to that guidance. I would absolutely know. I had one experience one time I swam across and I was on my own. It was quite, yeah, challenging conditions, but I felt safe enough because I'm strong enough and I wear flippers. And I was on the other side and I met that, the big seal, the big old fella with the kind of like the eyes, he's old because the eyes are drooping. And he literally came up this close to me and literally said, what the frack are you doing in here? And I went, all right, and go back. And he just stayed with me and I went back. So I'd be very tuned into the water and I would always ask. I always say my prayer and connect and ask, am I safe? And twice it said you weren't, and they were right twice. And I listened to that guidance and that voice. I
For,
would
for,
tune in
for,
hugely.
for other people listening, what I would say to you is the two most dangerous places at the island is getting in and getting out.
Oh
So
yeah.
when the water is quite rough, you can get pushed back into that wall. And particularly when you're coming in after your swim, you're not paying necessary attention and you don't know if there's kind of a wave coming is going to drive you into it. So I always tell people, be really, really careful getting in and getting out, because in the water, it's difficult to get hurt because you're not going to hit anything.
Yeah.
But when you're next to the rock, and then my personal guidance is I count right arm strokes. Not a lot of people do, but I do. It's normally about 150 right arm strokes to get out to that first corner. If it's more than 300, I'm probably not going to go around that day because it's just going to be nasty and ugly on the backside of the island. And then I modulate that depending on the weather. So you're wearing flip-flops and in a regular swimsuit, and you're going, including January, February, March, when it's particularly cold.
Yes, but in the winter we put on all the group, most of them, we would wear socks and gloves and 3 hats. So we wear 2 silicone and 1 neoprene in the winter, our gloves and our socks. And we all have flippers because I find the flippers keep you safe because you get that extra power when you've got those pulls in the water. Yeah, and I like that, to know that if I really kick, I can, get back faster. And we are safety conscious, even though we can be a bit wild and love the old bit of a wave and the whoop whoop in it. We would always go down by the steps, so you have the railings, and we'd count. Someone would say, "Oh, look, the waves, watch out," and we'd kind of wait for that when it goes out, and then we'd get in quickly. And the same coming out, like the strongest or the youngest. Our youngest is 54, our baby in our group. So she'd always, and the strongest would get out first, and there'd always be a hand to bring the rest of them in. And we mind Tony like a little egg. She's 82, so she only just ever stays in the bay, and we would mind her getting in and getting out when it was tumultuous. And she loves getting in every day as well, because it's all
One of
about
the
the
nice
different.
things, it's one of the nice things about Sandycove compared to some places around the coast. We don't care if people show up in a wetsuit, if they wear flippers or wear gloves and 6 hats. No one cares. There's no adverse comments about it. There's no people in wetsuits have leprosy. You go to some places and there's a real snobbery effect. We don't have that. And I think as I look at Sandycove, I think there's probably 50 to 100 groups of people that use the place. Some of them are connected by WhatsApp. Some of them are married. Some of them are their neighbors come down, and all different times of the day, all different times of the week, these groups get together. I think the GAA guys are there after training in the summer at like 8 o'clock, getting the cold water immersion healing or whatever. So that's it's interesting that you've got this group. You've given yourself a name. Have you done any gear yet? Have you printed towels or hats or shirts yet?
No, no, no.
Oh, got a celebration with a new hat or a new shirt. Just doesn't get any better than that. And
Yeah, but yeah, yeah.
and
No,
in
we haven't
and
done
in
that yet.
5 years' time, are you going to be doing exactly the same thing? Or are you going to do something slightly different? Do you have other ambitions?
In relation to swimming, probably no. Before I had my injury, I was definitely aiming for twice around the island. Um, so it has taught me to accept my limitations. I would have a lot of structural injuries from motorbike accident, two of them. So it has taught me that to accept my limitations and to just surrender to the water, listen to it. I focus now on trying to be as quiet as I can in the water because God, we make so much noise when we're swimming, don't we? It's really, I often wonder how the fish, we must frighten them hugely by the noise we make. Sometimes I'm trying to tiptoe in the water with my swimming, as in be as soft and as light. So I really enjoy all the different things I can do in the water. Sometimes I don't use my hands, I just pretend I'm snorkeling and just move my head side to side. It's yeah, I like the explorative effect of it. I like yeah, what I can be in the water. I love the weight bearing. I love the cold, believe it or not, because I've got a lot of recovering broken bones, and I just love the cold. It's that anti-inflammatory. It is just yeah, it's addictive. That cold, just
And
where
and
you're weight bearing and you're floating, and yeah,
and
and
has
not.
your group gone on the road? Have you gone to Clonakilty? Have you gone overseas? Have you gone somewhere else to swim?
We have one girl in the group, Katie from Cornwall. She keeps saying, come over," but we just haven't. I suppose we're too. Not all of us are retired. Some are working, and yeah, I suppose we just use the Sandycove and the group to gather, and then we all go off into our separate lives afterwards. And that's nice too, that you're not in everybody's face and we're not, I don't want to say the word obsessed with it. It's just, yeah, it's safety. There's always somebody there, somebody smiley, somebody to chat with. And we don't really mingle outside of that group, as in we all have our own lives. And yeah, that's just what we use it for.
The reason I ask it is a number of us will be swimming, hopefully from Shirkin Island to Baltimore in about 10 days' time. It's a
Yeah.
big annual event. It's a race for people who want it to be a race.
Mm,
Other people just want the experience. We have 5 or 6 of our local ladies are in Croatia now on a swimming
yeah.
holiday.
Mm.
And there are a number of events. There's an event near Barcelona that a group go to every year. There's another
Mm.
group go to something in Majorca. And there are swimming travel companies. The one I know best is Swim Trek. I have no commercial interest. They have very popular swim in Greece where they collect you at the airport, they bring you to your little B&B, you have dinner with a group of 15 people in the morning, you swim a mile out to an island, lunch is waiting, you have a bit of fiesta, walk up the hill maybe, in the afternoon you do another mile to the next island, all of your stuff is in another room, and they literally island hop in the summer with the sun
Yeah.
shining.
Yeah.
Um, and some people are mixing regular Sandycove with these kind of international adventures.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Time will tell. At the moment, I'm so happy to just be so close to it, have it on my doorstep. Do they take dogs on these international swimming
No idea.
excursions?
No idea.
I'm kind of stuck with my dog. Yeah, we'll just, I'm open to all possibilities
Okay.
and just so happy that it's on my doorstep and it feeds my soul every day. So yeah, time will
Angela,
tell.
I want to thank you very much for sharing your experience in this important part of your life. And as you say, we've spent far too much time talking about people doing long distances and not enough time talking to people like yourself that it's an important part of your daily ritual and
Yeah,
you're an important part of the fabric of that community.
thank you very much, Ned, for having me.
Thank you.